Bossy much? Hello, YouTube. Welcome to our new time, Sundays, 4 o'clock for me, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 o'clock for you, Ryan.
7 o'clock. Yeah.
Math is hard.
Yeah, so I want to welcome Ryan to our channel. That's something Lucy and I want to start doing, is having some other resellers on our channel to tell their stories, share their tips and tricks with all of you. So welcome, Ryan, to our show. You're always in the chat, so it's nice to get to meet you face to face.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Ryan was afraid he couldn't be clean cut without a potty mouth, but I know he can.
I'll be just fine. You said be myself.
I did. I said I always think people should always be authentically themselves.
We'll put out this warning that this time we might not be as PC as we try to be. There we go.
It could get a little crazy. Some
people love that. Are you kidding? They're here for that.
Right.
Armand says,
do I get to see the chat too?
I don't know. I think you should be able to. But you're on your cell phone, so I don't know how it looks on a cell phone. So, of course, Ryan is in his truck in a Walmart parking lot. I would expect nothing less, because I've said many times that Ryan lives at Walmart. I'm starting to think you're really one of those people that live in their van, like the nomads.
I secretly work at the Walmart, stocking in the back. Yes. Yeah.
Like you have your van that you live in the parking lot, always shopping.
Right. So I posted on like Facebook or something like that. Not my business one, but like my personal one, of like a Van Gogh style with like Chris Farley in a van down by the river, and it was in a Van Gogh style. It was pretty funny. So sorry. Anyway.
So welcome, Ryan. And I think we'll start we'd love to know, how did you get started reselling? Clearly you like Walmart and Meijer, but what's your story? What would you like to share?
Yeah. I talk about this a lot in my videos. So I started during the Pando, and as I'm sure a ton of people did, seemed to be an influx of people trying to figure out what they could do. And so I just kind of happened to stumble upon reselling, and I knew nothing about it. I didn't even understand that this was a thing. I didn't realize that this was even a thing that people did for money. I mean, it makes sense, hey, I buy this thing cheaper and I resell it like everyone does. And there's a lot of hate that goes along with that. But people don't seem to hate on every store that they go to that does it. TJ Maxx,
right?
Marshalls, places like that do it. And everywhere is the same thing. It's the same capitalistic, thing that everyone does, that every company does.
Every store does buy low and sell high. That is what every single store does.
Yeah.
They're just mad
it's really
because they couldn't get it they couldn't get it. So they're mad that by the time that they even heard about it, it's on Amazon for twice as much.
Right. Or 10 times as much. Yeah. I'm, getting it for $4 and selling it for 40. So, they get people kind of get upset about that, but they could do the same thing, right? As a consumer, if you wanted to go to the stores and kind of find these deals, you can do that. And I kind of show some of that stuff, and I talk about the consumer side of it a little bit, where you could just go in and you could find these things as well, kind of like the sticker, hacks and things like that, to kind of know the dates and, know that maybe this might be cheaper just by scanning it, is a good tip.
Do you mean
other
the
stickers
Walmart
have
clearance? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so they have dates on them and stuff like that. And so if it's, a week past, and you scan a couple of things and those might be cheaper, then you kind of know that date was the past price, and that, the future ones, the ones that haven't been marked secret, hidden clearance, can be cheaper. So
I don't think I know about these dates. I do at Home Depot.
Oh, yeah.
Walmart has dates.
Yeah. They have dates on the clearance stickers.
Okay.
So they'll have dates on them. So I point to them quite often about, and usually Walmart is usually like once a week, roughly. And sometimes it's 10 months, but sometimes it's once a week. It just depends on what the item is. And then like Meijer has like different ones where you can see the percentage off. So you don't have to be a mathematician or a magician to, figure out what the percentage off is on the tag itself. it'll say 30%, 70%, 90%, things like that. So kind of like how I got started was watching a ton, like probably 6 months probably of watching YouTube videos and things like that. I watched actually you, Lucy, to get a bunch of like information about like IPs and like, hey, this company or like kind of like a lot of the smarter stuff that wasn't necessarily on YouTube. And so, you know, you had like a lot of goofballs going into stores and stuff like that, but you didn't really have like the information. Like nobody told you what ungating was. Nobody told you what. Now there's quite a bit more of it.
Yeah.
On YouTube, but like back then there was not much of anything. Like I was like, yeah, I get it. But what the hell does ungating mean? And like, how do you get ungated? And how do you do this? And how do you, get these, deals? And it like seems too good. You know, you always think like, oh, this is bullshit. This is too good, or everyone would do it kind of thing. But it all comes down mostly to effort a lot of times with almost everything.
Yeah.
The effort that you put in is what you're kind of going to get back, So.
And then some people get analysis paralysis. They study it, they read about it, but then they're scared to execute it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah.
I think that reselling is still going to be a thing, and it's going to continue to be a thing because honestly, a lot of people that are out there are lazy. Or tired, or they have their career, whatever. They don't want to do the work for whatever reason. Some are lazy, for sure, because I know some of them.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are lazy. Yeah, I say it quite often.
Now, you want to watch a movie, instant. You want to have food delivered, instant. You want to have a coffee ready by the time you land at Starbucks, instant. You want to have your groceries ready, instant. I mean, there's really everything is at your fingertips. And to tell somebody that they need to go out and use coupons or search for a deal, like physically go do that. And they're like, I'm just going to go to Amazon and click and it'll be here in 9 hours. Why do I need to go do all that work?
I definitely say that, a lot of the thing that I say often is that it's convenience. Why would someone pay this price? And then that's what I would say. That's what I would ask when I first started was, why would somebody pay 10 times as much for a thing that I just got for $4?
Especially
because you start learning,
right? Like us resellers, I wouldn't.
Yeah, you're like, okay, but this shit isn't where you are. And also Amazon's the convenience. Like it shipped to your door in a day, 2 days, could be the same day, could be, a couple of days, a few days. But the convenience of it is the reason why people pay the extra. You get free shipping. Why go to a website that I have to pay shipping for when I can get free shipping and I can get the item, in stock and whatever, that hard to find Christmas gift or whatever it is. So yeah.
They also don't want to deal with the public. And I have to agree, because sometimes I really get so fed up. I've had stores. I had somebody at Home Depot. I was trying to find a timer for my garden. And the lady there, she's like, we don't sell timers.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like, yes, you do. You have timers for like
absolutely
electrical, you have plumbing timers, you probably got some in your Christmas tree area. She's like, no, we don't
Christmas light timers. Yeah. That's absurd. Yeah. You get that a lot. You get that a lot going to these stores. And a lot of it is the interactions. They're like, oh no, I don't even think we sell those. I'm like, that's crazy talk. Like, so
it's sad when we know more about their store than the employee.
Well, that's like when Scan and Go first came out. The Walmart Scan and Go first came out. It would be and I watch a lot of different people. Like I used to watch like Justin the Accountant, like the Accountant Flipper, I think is what he's called. Richie Hustles, Reezy, all the normal staples of the reselling biz. And Richie was a lot of the reason why I got into, kind of made it cool and kind of fun, and not so uptight. And but definitely you have like conversations with employees who are working the self-checkout. You're like, this is how you do this. They have to sometimes like go over and check 3 of your items if you use Scan and Go just randomly sometimes. And you'd have to like show them how to do it, because they're like trying to cancel the sales and like do all kinds of crazy stuff. You're like, no, just use your PDA and scan it and we'll be out of here. So yeah.
My Walmarts didn't know about Scan and Go for the longest time, and it got so frustrating. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm trying to use the system you set up,
right,
and
right.
you have a commercial about it, and you are encouraging me to come and use it, and you are making it awful experience.
Yeah, and you have two registers open, 2 lanes open. You know what I mean? And then you've got 10 kiosks of the Scan and Goes on either end of the store, and so they're like, oh no, you can't come in this aisle, and I'm like, look at I've got 50 items, but they're all right here, and I can just scan the QR code and be out of here. So
yeah, and I'd want to use my my no tax, my reseller permit, and that you have to go up to customer service, and they sometimes close or don't have it open, or there's just like nobody there.
Right.
I love your rules. Your rules say do this, but then you don't offer that. So good job.
So Ryan, you mentioned that you got into this during COVID. At that time, were you out of work from the job you had, or were you still working?
So I was. So I was still working. So I had a business before, and so it really didn't affect me as much. And I wasn't really worried about going into stores as much as other people. I mean, I obviously cautious and things like that, but, I wasn't as concerned. And so it also made it like a weird thing in that time too, where it made it seem like it was easier than it was, which is a good and bad thing, because it was really fucking easy, right? So it was really pretty easy. You go in there, you're like, there's just clearance galore falling off the shelves. And I'm like, I'm the greatest reseller in the world. I'm the best. I mean, it's, I felt like I was like, I don't know if I'm just the only one that knows about this, or I'm just this good,
Yeah, like all these videos I watched, they were right. It's so easy.
Yeah. I mean, look how it is. I'm going to be, driving a Lamborghini and a Bugatti in no time. So, yeah.
And so now, is this your full-time thing, or do you still work outside of that? Do you do two? Do you do both?
So I do this full time. I started just a year ago starting YouTube.
Okay.
So I think just the summer would have been a year. So maybe a year and 4 or 5 months or something like that.
It's been your full-time gig.
Yeah. So it wasn't initially, obviously, like the first, I went pretty crazy into it. At first, and then
into YouTube or Amazon?
Amazon. It was like a windfall. It was like the greatest thing ever. I was like, man, this is awesome. And then you start getting the hiccups along the way. You start getting IPs, or you start getting issues with inventory, or you start finding the nuances of how Amazon is a pain in the ass. And so you start going, is this worth it? I've got to diversify. So then I started doing Walmart, eBay. I had those when I first kind of started, the first 6 months. I kind of had them on the back burner, a little bit. But it took me about 6 months for Walmart to even get approved. So I was like, look, guys, are we doing this thing, or or what?
To get approved for Walmart.
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah. We talked. Yeah.
Which is why Lucy and I always geared our channel for that stuff, the hiccups, because we're like, how come no one is talking about this? We would be on the phone with seller support for hours, resolving it, helping each other. Like, this is what you do. Oh my God, thank you. And so we just started sharing that stuff with people, because we thought we were the only ones hitting these roadblocks.
No,
definitely.
No, and people don't realize some of the roadblocks. Like, even Amazon support doesn't realize some of their issues. And it's very frustrating, because I'll get Fiverr clients and they're like, my pictures won't show up, and I'll go in, and within 2 seconds I'm like, oh, because your title is 184 characters long. They're like, what does that have to do with the picture? I'm like, nothing, but I'm telling you that's what it is. And then we fix it and it clears up, and they're like, oh my God, I've been on the phone 3 hours with Amazon. Nobody, they were like, how come they don't know this? I don't know why they don't know anything.
Yeah.
They don't.
Walmart started doing a thing too, where they'll allow you to ship things in that you are not allowed to sell. And I've run into this a few times, where you'll sell 30 or 40 of the same thing, and then they go, no, you can't sell this. And then you're like, okay. And then you're like, well, send it back to me. And then it doesn't ever show up or whatever. Or also, just tell me before. Tell me
Yeah.
I can't sell this thing beforehand. And the comp stuff, it's easier to get them to do things because you can kind of like push back on them quite a bit. Amazon, you cannot push back on them too much because they're just inept on most things. They don't even know what they're doing. And so it's very difficult. Yeah.
And so since most of your, and I have Ryan's YouTube channel link down in the description on my channel. I'll have to grab it and put it in the comments for all of you.
I put it in the comments.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
Yes.
And
it's in both of our YouTube links, and it's over in the comments.
Okay. For those of you who don't follow Ryan and you're interested in his sourcing in the stores, follow him on his YouTube channel. It's Ryan Resells Infinity. And with that being said, Ryan, do you want to share with us like 4 common mistakes that people are making when they are sourcing, especially in the retail stores like you're doing?
Right. So with like the RA stuff, let's see. The most common that I see is people don't know what they're doing, and also they're getting information from people that don't know what they're doing. That's like the biggest thing. They're like, yeah, but I paid this or I did this, and they said I could do that, and it's really just not what it is. I implore people all the time in my reseller rants that are quite vulgar in language, but it's necessary sometimes. And I tell them that they don't need all this stuff. They don't need all these, these apps and these things. They just, mostly you need Keepa and the selling platform that you're selling on.
Pretty much.
And so whether it's Amazon or Walmart or eBay or whatever it is, you need those apps and you need Keepa to, learn the data. You don't necessarily need the other extra $40 a month, this and that. And, I've got these things and I've got this thing and I've got that thing, but I still can't sell anything because you got too much shit. You don't know what you're doing. Start off by understanding how to read a graph and knowing what, drops are and knowing what, sell-through rates are and those kind of things. And the biggest thing, seller metrics or seller ranks and things like that, you have to know each category. And like I talked about before, there's charts, and I've linked charts to like in my Discord for free and on Patreon and things like that. And even in the community posts on my YouTube, where it's just got like a little cheat sheet of seller ranks in each category. And, top 1%, top 3%, 10%, depending on how far you want to go with it. But just so you can get relatively, close to an idea, because there are a ton of categories and each one is not the same. So something that's, 10,000, ranked 10,000 sounds great until it's in like wireless or something like that, 20,000 in wireless. It's not very hot, So same thing with toys or, in grocery or things like that, the same items that you think are going to be great sellers just because they have a lot of reviews or they have this and that, don't always work out. So,
Well, I always told people that, if you're sitting there and you're spent 10 minutes debating on getting this item and you're like analyzing it that much, and it's a $3 item, get 1 or 2 of those a week and test them out. Because
now if you're going to send in, make sure you get 5.
Well, spending a few dollars every week to get more confident and to see how your decisions pan out, because you're either going to have it sit there and then it's going to sit and sit and sit and you're going to, that was a terrible decision, or it's going to fly off the shelf and that gives you the knowledge to go get some more of it. But
if you could find them in the retail space,
in 10 minutes you could have sourced 3 more things.
Yeah. With RA, it's kind of hit and miss sometimes. So what I always tell people too is you want to purchase items that you know about, or even look at them, or even scan them. You want to look at stuff that you actually know. Don't just I didn't start looking at beauty items and stuff when I first started off because I don't know a damn thing about beauty stuff.
Lies. Yes, you do.
Young girls and stuff like that. Right. I didn't get this girlish figure, but so like scan the things that you know. If you know, men's grooming products, or if you know coffees. Yeah, if you know coffees, or if you know shoes, or if you know, toys, kids' toys, right? And so those kind of things, and comparable prices. Like, this is a good buy, this is a good deal because I know that this item is popular. I know that this item is, within this price. That's probably a good deal, and it's a great deal if it's a great deal if you can get it on clearance, and if you can get it low enough and it makes sense, then you should probably buy it. The one-offs are difficult. Replens, of course, are easier, but the one-offs are hard to know because then when you go back, they're not going to be there. And so it's a harder decision. Like, you kind of beat yourself up a little bit, like, shit, I should have got more of those. Those sold so fast. I'm stupid for not getting them. But you also have to understand that you're still learning too. So when you first start off, you kind of want to test out some things and see whether it's going to, sell as fast as you think. So
when you go into a Walmart, when you go in there, what's your mission plan? Do you like to really just go up and down the regular aisles for the clearance rather than on the clearance row? Do you have a section? Like, what's your plan of attack when you walk in the store?
Right. So each store is different. So like a Target to a Marshall's to a Ross or an Ollie's to a Walmart. Walmart, usually you would hit the clearance aisle first. It depends on how many Walmarts you've been to in that day, right? Because you've got to mix it up or else you're going to lose your mind. Because you're looking at the same stuff every day, all day, every day. And you're like, this is maddening. So usually I would go to the clearance aisle, and then you can kind of gauge what they might have in the regular aisles based on what they have in clearance. So if they have a shit ton of toys, that the regular aisles in toys probably aren't going to be that full. Now if you find something in the clearance aisle that is a good buy, then you would go, okay, so I'm going to go back to the regular aisles now because I've got that piece of information. I found those. I'm looking top shelf for all the ones that they missed. The stockers didn't, grab. They might not even be marked in the regular aisle, games or toys. And so you can go, I found 3 more of those sitting on the shelf there that aren't even marked. And especially when they're $10 or $20, in your pocket in profit, those are the things you're really going, yeah, this is money. This is money. So yeah. And then of course, certain stores like Target, you want to hit the outskirts. The outskirts, they have little sections that are, end caps that just have, clearance on them.
My favorite is the end caps.
Yeah.
It's like that's what I do. I beeline all the end caps.
Yep. Just around the store in a circle. Yeah. And then I try to venture off sometimes and things that I'm not as familiar with, that I don't sell as much. Certain grocery things I'll try to dabble in here and there. But usually I stick to certain categories that I know. One, because I know it's safe to sell, that's safe these days, especially, safe to sell or safe as it can be to sell. And, so
what is your favorite stores?
Oh, my favorite stores, I would say my favorite stores. When I first started, Walmart was, like I said, I thought it was the greatest reseller ever. It was just so packed. And I would go to podunk stores, right? So I would go to stores that were in the middle of kind of nothing. And they had one Walmart, and that's the only thing they had. And I was, just flooded with clearance. It was craziness. But then also when you first start, you kind of run into, I'm not, ungated in these items, so I can't sell these items. So, you got your Disneys and your Star Wars and your Mattel and your, all those kind of things. And so there's a lot of categories in toys, a lot of brands in toys that you have to get ungated for. So my favorite store, I love going into Ollie's because it's just kind of a crapshoot. It's just you don't know. You're like, these are retro toys. These are cool as shit. All this stuff is pretty awesome. And so you get excited because it's new stuff too. You don't see it every store.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Meijer lately has been pretty awesome. Walmart's yeah.
Isn't it funny how it was once your favorite and then it becomes meh? It cracks me up because Reno also has Ollie's, and I had never seen an Ollie's in my life until this summer.
Oh, yeah.
When I went back east, and I went into one to check it out. So I always hear about this Ollie's, and you guys also have the benefit that you live in states that do have podunk towns that have these little like unknown little other type stores, or like you say, a Walmart in the middle of nowhere, and that's the only store these people have. I live in a big city where I just have regular stores that everyone else has, the Walmart, the Target, the Ross. I don't have like a uniqueness, and there's nothing podunk about Las Vegas. So I'm not going to go out to the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Go to Pahrump.
Yeah, where all the cat houses are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I could buy some like Larry Flint t-shirts. I don't know.
I always tell people when they're looking at things like keep the seasons, keep the whatever's hot and not in mind with those end caps. Sometimes that are awesome stuff. You know, if it's the end of gardening season, you want to pick up or scan that kind of stuff because people are going to need it after gardening season and year round, and they're going to go to the internet to find those products. But you know, things that are, what was it? Somebody had a bad story where they bought a whole bunch of Justin Bieber dolls, and then Justin Bieber kind of went crazy. I don't know what happened to him, but then they had all these Justin Bieber dolls that are
happened to him.
Yeah, you got to work. You got to, like, I always tell people to like try to steer clear, and I try to do it a little bit too, where you try to steer clear like the fads, and don't just go all in on some of these like fad items because they're really, you can make a really quick buck and you know a few thousand or whatever, but yeah, you gotta either get rid of them quick or that can just tank, and everybody's gonna be on it, and you just lost that investment. So a big thing I tell. Go on. Yeah, I was gonna say a big.
That had purchased, just got in 3,600 fidget spinners.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like nobody wanted.
I got caught up in those poppets, the poppet things.
Yeah.
It was crazy for so long, and I bought so many. I was getting them from like Staples and places like this that people weren't able to get them at, and I just got stuck with a lot of them. So I
sold some of those. It was a Big Brain Toys. Poppet One brand was the one that I was selling. Yeah, and that was, I think, during COVID.
Was it COVID, or I thought poppets were slightly after COVID? But
maybe it was. But I just remember buying the Big Brain Toy brand of it.
Yeah, it was like at the tail end of what are we doing kind of thing, and it was the same kind of time, and I'm like, everybody's going back, and then they have no use for all these glow in the dark poppet whatever things, and
One thing I'm curious about, you mentioned you have 5 children, you have a big family and a wife at home. So how supportive is your family of you doing this, and how involved are they with you? I know for some people that's a hard thing for them, is they do it, but their spouse just doesn't get it. They don't want to hear about Amazon. How is it with your family and doing Amazon?
So when I think the fad, when I first started doing it, was pretty interesting. I used to, they used to get excited about all the toys and things like that, the younger ones. And I think they still do now, as far as like, picking and choosing what they might give to their friends for their birthdays or whatever. It's nice and easy. What does dad have on a shelf kind of thing? But they don't really get into it. They used to help, sticker picking and stuff like that and doing those kind of things. Not so much anymore. They want money. See, they want money to do these things now. And so,
like call it an allowance to help
times
dad.
Change. Yeah. Times change. It used to be freebies, and now it's money. So, but definitely they are supportive. But also I can't talk. They don't care. Like they don't care what I'm doing. They're like, oh, okay. They know what I'm doing. So now it's like dad's just doing whatever he's doing.
And what about with mom?
About the same. She's still always looking for things, looking for items for me, if she sees things like that. Hey, these, got hip to, some Kroger deals. Hey, they're, 70% off Legos or something like that. I was in there this morning. Here's some pictures and all that stuff. And so that,
cool.
that definitely,
So
TD Maxx,
Walk us through, like, what's your plan on a week-to-week basis? Do you source everything on a particular day? Do you do a bunch and then wait to send in? What's your plan?
I'm the worst. I am not a person I don't got a plan. Yeah. I almost never have a plan. Other than
do you have like goals? Do you need to send out so many, or like?
So sort of, kind of. Yeah. I mean, like, usually I try to do, like, since Amazon's gotten so wonky, and I talked about this in a reseller rant that I did, which is I have shifted a lot to Walmart. A lot of my stuff I've switched to Walmart. It's fucking easier, and I just decided to go, you know what? I'm done dealing with the bullshit and the whatevers and the price tankers and the 100 people on a listing.
Yeah.
I can sell that same Lego on Walmart, and there's 4.
A
4 other people
feel like you with Amazon versus Walmart. I see a lot more Amazon sellers not completely jumping ship, but going heavier into Walmart. And now with this new like Inventory Lab 2.0, the shipments, how Amazon wants all these identical boxes. I did a few shipments this week for some online selling friends because I don't ship into Amazon anymore. But what a shit show. I'm just like, oh my God. It's like I crave to do a Walmart shipment now. And I will ship into Walmart, but I'm done shipping into Amazon. After my deactivation, merchant fulfill only on Amazon.
Yeah. It's definitely, like, when I first started with Walmart, I don't know, 3 years, was it 3 years ago? 3 years ago? They're so clunky. It was like the most impossible thing to even create a shipment and to get a shipment in. And so it felt like a victory if you got, everything together and it wasn't just a jumbled mess or whatever. But then you're like, the simplicity of just throwing everything into a box and going mix SKUs is the easiest thing ever. You're like, so you can do more weight, bigger boxes. You can do, it's not every single item has to be known. And that's great. Amazon tries to be overcomplicated. They do this constantly. They're like, you know what, this works, but let's fucking rearrange it and hodgepodge it so it's way more difficult. It's innovation. We're paying all these people, so they've got to come up with idea after idea after idea.
Make it harder. Yeah.
It's terrible. It's the placement fees and everything else. They're walking back a lot of the hard pushes that they were doing, but I mean,
they're gonna have to because they're losing a lot of people.
Yeah.
When I first started Amazon, Ryan, you know how you got ungated? You would go to Target. Like, I'm going to get ungated in beauty. I would go to Target to those trial size, like the little bins. I would get 3 little trial size bottles of hairspray with my Target receipt, take a picture of it, send it to Amazon. Bam, you're ungated. Like, that's how easy it was. I swear. That's how I got ungated in beauty and all these things back in the early days. Is I went to Target, bought 3 trial size items, and you were magically ungated just like that. So, I mean, and the reason why I tell you that is, like, from that to now this year, you're having to buy 50 to 100 of a single item with a valid invoice.
Codes. Yeah. Transparency codes, and give us this and do this, and you're like, this is outrageous. It's outrageous. And you can still, and here's for anybody who's listening, you can still get ungated with receipts, and you can still get ungated with certain things. A lot of people don't understand the transparency code, and it took me a while to kind of like get into it. My phone is falling. It took me a while to like get into it, but I don't know if you guys know about the transparency codes or anything. It's mostly like retail arbitrage type stuff, but just the program, the app itself, and being able to scan those things, and you can get ungated in items that you don't actually purchase that way. So a lot of people don't know that, but in retail, it's difficult to find 10 of the same thing. Sometimes it's only 5, but a lot of times in electronics, it's usually 5, but in a lot of things, it's 10. So find 10 on a shelf with different transparency code numbers, the serial numbers is difficult, but yeah,
But you had to be the owner of these transparency codes. So I'm not sure that I would know what to do.
So if you get into the transparency system through Amazon, you would have to do that. If it was like a white label or your own product or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, that I know about.
Right. So this is this is brands having transparency codes on them, and it's another stepping stone that resellers have to do just so that they can sell the product.
And what is it they have to do? I'm not sure that I know.
So it's an authenticity type thing.
So the transparency code, the transparency code goes from just straight bars and black lines, a typical barcode, and it's that QR code looking thing. And within that type of coding, you can put in a lot of things. So all brands are really going to this type of code. And within that code, you could put things like the expiration date. You can put hazardous stuff. You can put poison control stuff. You could put expiration date or allergy information, organic information, those types of certifications, so that on your bottle, you don't have all these stamps all over. You know how we have like, what do you call it? Kosher or, organic or 100% cotton or whatever, all those little symbols on your item. They're going to start embedding them all into that 2D or 3D.
I get that part, code. But if you're not allowed to sell it because of the transparency.
So the transparency code is they purchase so many. So each bottle is going to have its own code. So when we'll say Johnson & Johnson puts out baby lotion, and they're going to put out 1,000 bottles of baby lotion, they're going to go get a transparency code that has it embedded 1 through 1,000, and each bottle is going to get its own transparency code. So then Amazon is going to say, what's the transparency code? They're going to grab that code and see, was it really Johnson & Johnson's bottle number 382?
They use it as
the bins, or you have to submit a photo to them before you're allowed to even send that in.
So they use it as an authenticity type thing. So these items are authentic because you actually gotten these numbers that they put on the package themselves. And so they require you to do this either through FBA and FBM, so MFN, whatever. They require you to do that. Any items that you send in, even if they're MFN, you have to have that added to that item prior to selling it. So it's like an authenticity thing. There's a transparent, so Amazon gives you the information. Most people don't know it. And so here's a pro tip that I like to do. So the pro tip is that they tell you what it is. The transparency code or the transparency app itself is in the, when you scan the item and they ask for it, they say you can use this app. And so you can just download the app
outside of Amazon that you can download on your phone.
Yes.
And it's just called the Transparency app or Transparency Code app.
I think it's just Transparency app. I'd have to look on my phone to see exactly what it's called, but it is just the transparency. That's what it is. It's got like a T that looks like a QR code.
I think I've seen.
And so, and you just get that and you scan it, and you can either take pictures of the item. You can either take pictures of the transparency code itself, or you can just scan it with the app, and it puts in line by line the numbers that you need. So if you need 4 or 5 or 3 or 10 of this item, and you can scan those in store, you can just scan them and it collects those numbers in a row and you just submit it the same way you would a picture or a doc or whatever in that same file in Amazon, in the app. Yep.
Okay, see, I've never done that before, so that's interesting. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Somebody asked,
so
Mel asked,
getting ungated for like Linksys, getting ungated for like Linksys, what are some of the other ones, like Netgear, those things, they require those transparency codes a lot of times.
Okay. Mel is asking, Ryan, can you explain more on the 2D barcode? I got hit with 2 ASINs for the transparency code, and I needed to remove them because the supplier cannot give me a code to add to my inventory that's already on Amazon.
Correct. Because the manufacturer has to print them on the product, and they have to purchase them or obtain them or whatnot. If you have a private label and you join the transparency program on Amazon, you can buy them through Amazon, but a lot of the other companies are going to get them on their own or get them through Amazon or however they want to get them. But you can't put that code on your product at FBA. You have to get it recalled and then figure it out and then get it sent back in.
And you can't remove them.
What if it was already on their product And they sent it into Amazon.
So here's the kicker on certain items. So if you get the same model router, say it's a Netgear or whatever, you can get an older one in an older packaging that is the exact same model, the exact same everything, but it doesn't have a transparency code. And you can say you bought 2 or 3. 2 of them might have it, 1 of them, does not. And you have to, or you're required to now, to have those transparency codes on the item, or you cannot sell it. So if it comes with one, and if Amazon says that it does, right, then you have to provide it.
So they're only contacting you because of when you sent in. When they've checked their Amazon bins, it's not on. It's actually not on there then.
They're not going to check the bins. You have to have it on there to send it in.
Yes.
And it's the companies are doing it to prevent fakes. That's what's happening. Yeah. And it's a lot with electronics, particularly, that I've noticed have the duty codes, because they're getting so many fakes and knockoffs that are jumping on their listing, and they'll sell whatever 50 headphones, boys headphones, and they're not real headphones.
See, for me, it's been so many years since I did much retail arbitrage, because I was primarily doing wholesale and my own listings, and because I wanted to be the only seller on the listing and not have competition, right? So a lot of this stuff I've never had to deal with personally, especially the transparency codes. I know of them, I know about them, but I've never had to actually fight one.
Right. Yeah, the codes themselves are easier to just take a picture of with that app, like I said, than punching in 16 numbers or 24 in some cases. 24 numbers. You're sitting there, and one of the numbers is wrong. Yeah, like I've got to put in 5 with 24 numbers in it and try to figure all that out. It's way too much. But yeah, the app is really easy. It's if you run into that, a lot of times just don't sell that item. You know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of other things. There's plenty of other low-hanging fruit that's easier to sell. If you get caught with it, just recall it, sell it on Amazon, or sell it on Walmart, sell it on eBay. They don't have so many hoops. So.
Yeah.
Yep. So what is I lost my train of thought there.
No, you're fine.
I was going to say something like, what is your like this spring, what are you looking for? What are you outsourcing? What's your favorite categories?
So what I say all the time is, so like if I'm in the hood, right, I will buy things in like sporting goods, right? I'll find fish finders and, all kinds of different things like that. Things that in that area probably aren't prevalent to be sold. And so they go on clearance quite often. So I'll know certain stores that go on sale. If I'm in podunk places, I'm not looking for fishing stuff or for golf balls or for whatever's. So certain items are in certain areas, and you kind of got to know what those items are. If you're in the posh areas, you're not going to get the, pumpkin spice lattes from Starbucks, boxes, probably, because they're going to be gone. You know what I mean? But in some of these other rural areas, you might find them pretty easily. So yeah.
Well, do you do seasonal, or are you going after evergreen stuff?
So I don't personally get into seasonal. A lot of people, great. They do Halloween, they do Christmas, they do candies and all that stuff. For me, it's too much of a headache. Perishables, grocery, I don't get into too much, because things that can melt. In Ohio, the weather is, it could be 70 degrees in December. So you just have no idea, you have no idea, or it could be -20. So you just don't know. And so like trying to ship them out yourself, which you would probably do with candies and things like that, unless it's, winter time or whatever, you're trying not to get stuck with items or stuck with inventory. So I don't do too many perishables or things that have expirations usually. So, but I know a lot of people do seasonal and they make a fortune.
That's why my business model was always mostly seasonal and those perishables, the exact things that you stay away from.
That I don't do.
Right? Is because we are all not doing the same thing. And that's what makes it great. It makes that balance there. We can all make a living doing all the different things. There's no one size fits all. And like you said,
that goes back,
things can be regional.
Yeah, and that goes back to like buy shit right? So you know these items, right? So you start when you first go, start scanning stuff at your own house. Start scanning your own things, start scanning the things in your fridge or whatever it is. If you're a mom that shops and does all the grocery shopping and all those things, then
cereal is a big
deal. What the prices are. Yeah, you know what those whatever, brand of Doritos or whatever it is, or boxes of cereal or those granola bars or whatever those things are that really are hot at the time and that sell for stupid amounts of money and that you see are overpriced and ridiculous. If you think they're overpriced and ridiculous in your store
that just came out, or like the new thing that just hit the shelf. Yeah.
And imagine what it's going to be on Amazon, what that price could be on Amazon, because it's hard to find, those Pepsi Oreos or whatever the heck they are, or whatever, those crazy things. So
Rena wants to know, how often do you ship into Walmart?
How often do I ship into Walmart? A week. It depends. So usually in the summertime, it's once or twice a week, depending. So I'll do the minimums usually that I'll do is like, I try to stay within like 300-ish, but it depends on what the item is. So, 300 items, for a shipment is a pretty decent shipment depending on what it is. And so I'll try my best to make the shipment worth it. With Walmart, it's not that big a deal because the shipments are way less, and so it's not that big a deal. With Amazon, you kind of want to reach a certain amount of boxes kind of thing. But yeah, usually once a week probably would be normal.
I have a question for you with Walmart shipments. So the one thing I haven't got quite figured out. So if we ship something in and the UPC code matches Walmart, we don't have to put an FNSKU, right, label on it. However, if it is a listing that was created that the UPC code doesn't match because maybe it's a bundle or whatever it is, you have to print out the sticker and label it. For the life of me, I don't care how I do it, what I do. The sticker that Walmart wants you to print out does not align on my Dymo printer on my labels. It rotates the other way. I've tried downloading it like as a PDF to rotate it to make it fit my sticker. I end up just printing it out on it's like a bigger sticker sheet, and I cut it out with scissors because I cannot for the life of me. Is there some trick to getting Walmart the labels to print out normal?
So I believe if my setup is okay, let's see if I can get this right. My setup is 70 millimeters, 70 millimeters by 70. I had to work all this through, like just testing ribbon after ribbon of just running labels through. And I'm like, one at a time. I'm like, no, don't print 10. I'm like, no, print 100. I'm like, stop. You know what I mean? So I believe I set mine up in portrait and see other people print their labels through specific things, like different programs and things like that. I just run it through the computer and do it, the old fashioned way with the printer, and I can change the settings. And I believe it's 70 millimeters, 70 by 70 in portrait, or it might be 50 by 70.
Yeah,
but
do you have the Dymo machine with the little tiny stickers, or do you, or you said you're using a regular printer?
So no. I use labels, regular labels. Yeah. So the what are they? 1 inch by 2 inch, or 1 inch by 2 inch. I use, it starts with a P. Was the printer that I bought that I've had for 5 years now. It was way cheaper than a Dymo, and it was just as good. Like the offers were just as good. So I bought that, and I can't remember what it's called. I think we talked about it one other time.
I have a shipping label called Polano printer. It might be that.
Yes.
But mine is
that one.
I have the 5, whatever the shipping label size stickers are in that machine.
So I
use the rolls. rolls for the labels, and all I do is I've got it on in the tray, and so I've got 2 of them that I haven't set up for the labels itself. So I just like swap the roller for the labels and just run it that way. But yeah. So
what about you? Do you get them to print out good?
I haven't had any issues, but I use the FBA labels 30334 Dymos, and they are 100 millimeters by 25 millimeters. Yeah,
right.
That would help you write that down. Because I think you use the
my
same
stickers
labels
that I use are like this size.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But instead of them printing them this way, it prints it going that direction. So this code for Walmart goes across like 2 or 3 different labels because it's rotated wrong. And that's with it just like printing from Walmart to my Dymo. Now I did a video call with Reno.
Portrait to landscape.
Just fine.
Yeah. Portrait to, yeah,
you got to go portrait to landscape and then do 100 by 25.
Well, look, next time I do it, I'm calling one of you because I need technical help.
You can call me now. I know not to answer the phone.
Right. I was gonna say I'll be on there for an hour.
It doesn't take me that long. I'm a quick study.
Well, I wanted to share your channel too, just while we are talking. Hold on. What did I do? I hit the wrong button. Let's see if I can hit the right button this time. For everybody out there, this is Ryan's channel, so we want to make sure. I'm going to plug it again just to make sure. Do you have any Instagram or Facebook or anything else you wanted to be known for here?
Yeah, I'm on everything. I did in the more, I think it's got, or the about, it's got all the links. I do the Patreon and the Discord and the Rumble and the Tickety Tockety and the Instagram.
I wanted to
TikTok. I can't get it on my new phone. I mean, the app is on.
I wanted to share that. Yeah, you cannot download it while it's in Cahoots right now. But if you have your old phone, they sold yesterday one with TikTok on it for $2,500 because
hop on eBay,
living
quick
on
$3,000, $3,000, and you can get yourself a phone.
You can sell yourself
sell it right now, Tina.
But my other one is so old. My other iPhone is an iPhone 8. So it's had the home button, right? And the TikTok on that one works. Even though it transferred the app to this phone, I cannot get on TikTok on this phone at all. Yeah. I looked it up already on eBay today.
Did you?
Yes, I did. And I saw all the iPhones being sold on eBay with the TikTok app on them. Yep. Insane.
Nuts. And I don't know, are those actually sold? Are they really sold comps?
Well, there are some in the solds. Yeah, I looked in the solds.
Wow, that's unreal.
Look, Lucy's going to click the sold right now. An iPhone SE 3rd generation sold for $200. iPhone 14 Pro Max for $610. iPhone 11 $160. Yeah, there goes an iPhone 8 with 2 bids, $55.
See, you want that old phone. That'd be the only way to make decent money on old phones these days. Because old phones are.
There you go. If you got and the newer older phone, right? Like the 14s and stuff are going for better. So.
Yeah. I can't find the more. Oh, maybe under here. Trying to find. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is everybody. When you go to his page, if you click the more, he's got YouTube, Discord, Patreon, Rumble.
All the things. I don't even know how you can keep up with it all, and do all the shopping that you do.
I don't. I try to be a little bit because we do have members on the Patreon and stuff like that. And I do try to post like shorter versions of certain things that I'm getting on that for members and things like that. But yeah, most of the stuff is like TikTok's not a big deal to me as far as like following or anything like that. Not very big. Instagram's about the same. I get about the same traffic. Sometimes I'll have 3 on TikTok. Sometimes I'll get 16,000 views. So it means there's no like rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah.
Much like YouTube, it makes about as much sense. So some of the videos that I think are terrible, and I'm like, this is nonsense. The title's nonsense, gets 5,000. and then one that I think is really good gets 100. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people get really upset lately about the buy box, and I don't know if there's really drama going on with the buy box or if it's people thinking there's drama going on with the buy box, but people are always up in arms about how do I get the buy box? How do I get the buy box? And I'm like, okay, let's see here.
Everybody,
You've got
yeah.
negative feedback. You're not the lowest price. You're not FBA.
And
like
you're
not
a newly launched seller, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and a lot of that has to do with, your shipping templates too. So like people don't understand that if you don't offer these things, MFN or whatever, if you don't do the FBM, if you're not, your shipping isn't, your handling and all that stuff is 2 days or something, or it's not, same day, or it's not next day or whatever. You've got to set all those parameters up, and if you don't, you're not going to win the buy box if you're not FBAing it. And even if you are FBAing it, price isn't always the thing. Everybody just is quick to tank. They're all quick to tank.
Sometimes it's where it's located. If the more expensive one is located in the FBA center in my city, Amazon's going to show me that seller's item as opposed to the cheapest one, which is in Florida. That's not going to get to me fast enough. So there's a lot of different factors for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Everybody, there's always a conspiracy theory about why someone's getting the buy box and all these things. And all we know is, limited information. We know that, shipping templates, we know that price matters, of course, but the speed is, customer satisfaction. The speed in which an item can get to someone is usually the most, the highest factor in those.
Yeah, definitely.
And then don't worry, they're gonna if you bought an item that is going to sell, it's going to sell for the price you put it at, right? Relative. Like, don't be absurd. It's not $75 if it's $35 normally. So that goes back to the data, the information. You need to know what a normal price would be, and even if it's an exponential price, like you don't think someone would pay for that, it doesn't really matter. Just be on par with what kind of everyone else is kind of doing, and don't be $20 cheaper. I call out a lot of people, for being $20 cheaper than Amazon.
Yeah,
Amazon's got it for that price. We can all just fall in line.
Yeah, we were all with that $20 higher price.
We all make some money. Yeah. We don't have to be fumbling over ourselves or cheating everyone out of some money to try to win it, and they'll just continue to do it, especially with repricers, which is another thing that I'm not 100% into. So, yeah,
it's hit or miss right now. Amazon has really upped their game on what they offer, and some of the other ones are kind of like so convoluted and like you don't need that many choices on everything. Come on now. So it's really hard. I had a lady though that she was selling bralettes, and it was her own brand. I started this brand. Yeah, you and everybody else, honey, but okay. So she's starting this bralette, and she wants to sell a single one for $48. Meanwhile, there's a 4-pack for $16.99 that looks exactly like hers, but mine's better. Okay, but no, you can't see that. Nobody.
Well, you're not a recognized brand name that I know that this, Bali or Olga bralette versus Amazon basic brand. When nobody knows your brand because you're just launching a new product, it's just too hard to compete against a product like that.
I'm just going.
People have to understand that it takes years to build up that brand awareness. It takes years to build up those things. You might be hot to start off with until you're copied by everybody else, and then the next 100 people are doing the exact same item, same material, same whatever. You have to differentiate yourself, or you're going to get left behind. Either you change it, or prove why your product is superior, or it's just going to be another thing in the queue that's not not being bought. So yeah.
Pretty much. But every private label person I come across has the best.
They think they've got all the best ideas that no one's ever thought about, and that's why I try to steer people, kind of away from that, at least initially. You shouldn't come out of the gate trying to sell, your own stuff, or if you don't know.
Unless you really have, like nobody else out there has that thing, then sure.
If you had a brick and mortar or a background before that in some item, sure, and you've got you've got some kind of technological advancement or some kind of material something that's going to separate yourself.
I'm making the best goat milk soap now, better than the other 8 billion on the market.
Right.
Yeah,
That's, the fidget spinners. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, then everyone jumped on
that brand, or pop sockets. That used to be the pop sockets and stuff like that. That used to be the craziest thing. And then every knockoff was like, why buy this for $20 when I can buy it for $5?
Mm-hmm.
You had mentioned a little bit earlier that people buying courses and buying things. I see that a lot too, with people buying, I got out of my favorite is, I got out of the Rainmaker and they told me to buy this, blah, blah, blah. And now there's 100 other people selling the same thing from Alibaba. Yeah, because
you and 50 other people.
That idea.
Right. You and 50 other people. We'll send you a list of these hot products that all of our sellers and our courses are selling. And these lists, weekly lists and monthly lists and exclusivities and, all these nonsensical things. Yeah, it's all horseshit. It's all horseshit. Anybody who's listening to this, all that shit is horseshit. You can partially, maybe in a small way, reap some benefits from some of those things, but you're wasting a lot of money that you could be putting towards inventory, purchasing items, real physical things, and reselling them, even if they're at a net, a wash, or even if it's at a small loss, you're still learning. So, and there's going to be bad buys.
And what they don't understand, they're like, they gave me this one idea. They're not giving it to anybody else. And they don't understand there's only like 3 software programs that Amazon people use. Helium, Jungle Scout, and like one other I can't remember right now. And you have 5,000 VAs searching the same criteria across those same 3 on the one platform to get these lists, and then they're on every course catalog that's being sold for Amazon people, and every Fiverr gig that you're going to buy to find that one Amazon list. And you're not.
And how long is it? And also, how long is it good for? And that's the thing too, is that it's not sustainable. These items that you're purchasing are not sustainable. It's not like a category that you're necessarily buying in. It's just this one product, and it might be good, maybe for that one time, that one off. And I say this all the time, it's you got to kind of like pick what you want to do. There's people are still pretending like you can drop ship, and even though you can drop ship on Walmart, but they pretend like you still can, and they still pretend like, well, just give me $5,000 and I'll show you how to drop ship. And
no, you just let me have access into your account, and for $5,000, I'll give you 3% of the profits.
I know, and a lot of people come to Lucy and I who have been burned by these people, and the stories are heartbreaking. How many people fall victim to these types of scams out there, and it's sad.
Yeah. Well, and that goes back to the, how full of shit is this idea, right? The reselling idea that I talked about before, which is, this can't be real. This must be, this can't be how it is. This can't be this easy. Okay, so we weed out the bullshitters, and that's what I was doing in that initial time at the beginning, was weeding out all the Bugattis and the Lamborghinis and the richest. I made $1 million. Yeah, but in sales, I made $1 million in sales. Okay. So what did you actually make though? That sounds great. You can sell a lot of things, and there's the newbies too. They don't understand that people talk about sales all the time. They show their metrics and they'll say, look at all these sales. Well, fuck your sales.
What's their net?
Sales don't mean anything. I can sell a lot of shit, but it doesn't make me any money. You know what I mean? I can pretend all day long and say, look at all these things that I'm selling. I'm selling so much, and I'm a 6-figure seller, which I am. And then they go, blah, 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 but they don't ever tell you or show you how much money they're actually making.
Like after Amazon fees, after the cost of your inventory, after the, what is that real bottom line? It may be, you may be sold, $350,000, but you're in debt, $300,000. And
well, you made $3,000, you made, you made $3,000. Yeah, you made $3,000. They talk about, these, especially with OA and stuff. OA is, they talk about this a lot, where, this percentage is good for them. Those return on investments are terrible for me. Like the 10%, the 13%, they're like, this is perfect. I'll buy these Nike shoes for 35 and sell them for 45. The fuck? I can't do that. No.
To make enough money to live off of.
Yeah, like
yeah,
there's no way I could do it.
Try to talk about, so often. That's why I'm so big. When on Fridays, when we were doing the Friday show, I would always say, it's Finance Friday, is because in my early days of Amazon, I didn't know, am I profitable or not? I think I am. It's hard to learn to understand your Amazon numbers, and people are embarrassed to admit that they don't get it, and because I know in the beginning I was embarrassed to admit that I didn't get it. I knew what Inventory Lab said, or I knew what the app said when I scanned it, and I really thought I was making money, but and so it's like when I really got into tracking my numbers more and more and trying to really fine tune how to track it. And that's where Lucy really came in handy for me, is because I was already on that journey on my own, but because she's so great at spreadsheets and formulations, we were able to pull our ideas together and really start understanding our numbers. And like last year, we were both on a particular listing that Inventory Lab showed how much we were making, and it was profitable. But then when you go into Amazon, if you click on your actual SKU, it takes you to that SKU analytics. And I messaged one morning, I said, Lucy, we got to raise our price on this. We're not as profitable as we thought.
Yeah.
And so she went looking at it, and she messages me back. She's like, oh my God, you're right. So it's like, you can't truly always rely on just what Inventory Lab says, because it's not taking into all these other calculations that SKU economics is taking into account within Amazon, which is like your real numbers. So
a penny here and a penny there. Yeah.
And this is coming from two girls who really track our numbers. And even every now and then something like that would pop up, and it's like, whoa, now we better go examining all these others. Maybe we are even losing more money than we thought, because I thought we were making like $1 more or so per item on this one particular one than we actually were. And so, definitely go looking at your SKU economics in Amazon. Click on every little SKU. It's eye-opening.
So
and look at your reports, and yeah.
Let's we usually do about an hour here, but I would love to know kind of your something you will never sell again, absolutely hate it, had bad experience or something with it, and then something that you absolutely love.
Discovery Kids. Discovery, anything that says National Geographic on it. Let's see. They were the ones I got hit about 3 different items that were just happened all at the same time, the perfect storm. And what the guy said was, they nuked my account because of it. I had never had any issues prior to this, about 2 years in, maybe a year and a half in. And that Discovery Kids, they actually retracted that. I got them to, just, pretty please, I won't sell your item again if you just go ahead and let Amazon know we're good buddies, type of deal. And there's a couple other ones, like Saker brand things was another one. They did scooters back in the day. This is when these scooters were really hot. They were like Paw Patrol and like rideable little scooters for kids. We were getting them for me and a few other resellers that on YouTube were getting them for super cheap, $4, $5, $6, $9 tops, but they're going for 35 to 40, depending on which ones they were, Peppa Pig and all these different ones. And a lot of people got hit with IPs from them. And they were a hard one to get a hold of because they don't have like a real office type thing, but they have like an international thing that doesn't correlate with anything. It was a pretty fun thing. And something that I really like, that I really like to sell, like a brand itself,
or a type. I mean, I like Squishmallows. I find them fluffy and squishy and soft.
Enjoyable to sell, right. And if you know them, which ones are good, which ones are bad, because the same things apply that we've been talking about, which is this one goes for $60, that one goes for $6. You know what I mean? And it's like knowing which ones they are, which ones are hot. The new drops for the Squishmallows, that they've got, Five Below has their, exclusive ones that they do and things like that. I sell a lot of toys. I like selling toys. Toys are fun. Action figures. You get to buy all the toys that you could never buy when you were a kid. You know what I mean? That you could never buy when you were a kid. You just go in there and you're like, clearance, clearance, clearance. You know what I mean? $4. These Transformers. Oh, that's awesome. Ninja Turtles. That's cool. Those kind of things I really like to do. I try to venture out. It used to be also that you could get a lot of kitchen items and things like that on clearance, but now not as much. It used to be the Keurigs and the Mr. Coffees and a lot of the Shark products and Ninja and things like that you used to be able to get for super cheap. The air fryers, when those were really big, you get them for $20 or less sometimes on clearance, hidden clearance in the aisles. And, you clear a whole shelf of those and sell them for $2.40, a piece, and you're spending $20 on them. Those are wins for sure, So yeah, items like that, I don't get into like the Mr. Beast or the fads. Like I say, I try to steer clear of the fad stuff because those will be bought out the most listings. You'll have, way too much competition, and it's not worth it because they're all racing to the bottom, to the bottom. And so, yeah.
Reno says golf balls. I don't know if that's a...
Golf balls, pickleball. Here's a pro tip. Pickleball. It's a very popular game. And most people don't know that pickleball is very, very popular because I didn't know either. I didn't know either until I, bought a couple for $14 or whatever, and they go for $65. So I don't show too many pickleball paddles, the paddles themselves. I show people like the ones that I would probably look for, the brands that I would look for. But I usually don't show those. I keep some of those to myself. I got to keep some to myself, and I can't show every, every item, obviously. But yeah, pickleball, golf balls, those are a seasonal thing. And those are also, like I talked about, in certain areas, right? So depending on where you're going, what town you're in, do they have 2 golf courses? Do they have 3 golf courses? If they've got 3 or 4, and, the demographics are such that, most people are 55 and over in this town or in this ritzy area, you're not going to find very many golf balls, so it's just what it is, but, in some of the lesser places that don't have golf courses or don't have, warmer weather or whatever, you can find them. So definitely.
All right, Ryan. Well, thank you so much for those tips. Thank you for joining us on our Friday. I know you probably got to go into Walmart and get your sourcing done now. We appreciated having you. I hope you had fun. We had fun with you. And with that, we'll say good night to everybody watching. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you back here on Friday. Next Sunday. For years I've said Friday. Next Sunday.
Bye. Yes, thank you, Ryan.
Right on. I appreciate it, girls. Thank you so much.